Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. One thing we didn't really have a chance to dive into because there's so much crazy shit that happened on the Raw after WrestleMania is um, we're getting John Cena, Randy Orton one last time, and it seemingly is going to happen at Backlash in St. Louis in early May, which is, by the way, it's only 2 weeks from Saturday. That's wild that we just finished WrestleMania. Um, I know some people, really disingenuous. Maybe they're grifters or their AEW tribalist accounts are trying to dunk on this. It's like, hey, it's probably not going to be that great of a match. And considering, John Cena didn't really have the greatest hasn't had the greatest performance in singles matches. Look, this thing is going to be built around nostalgia. And yes, John Cena and Randy Orton don't have the greatest track record of having the best matches together, but this is still a nostalgic rivalry. I hope that, there is some kind of a stipulation maybe added to this to potentially, get some of the bells and whistles to help these guys out and make this look cool. But I got to tell you guys, this is a fantastic piece of business. This is going to do massively well because one thing that we have not seen really in the entire course of the John Cena Randy Orton rivalry, which spans back to about 2006, 2007. It spans almost 20 years, these two guys. And these guys came up in the same OVW class. Like, these guys have so much history together. And in virtually every single one of these matches that these two have had together, Randy Orton has been the heel and John Cena has been the babyface. Those roles are switched now. And to me, that is fascinating to see how this is going to play out because the fans very clearly love Randy Orton. And he's at the point in his career where he's not going to get booed. There's too much respect out there, and considering what he's had to go through just to get to his career. And Randy looks like he's having the time of his life. And him and John Cena are really like the best of friends in real life. So this has got to be a joy for those two guys to basically in John Cena's final year as the heel champion to go face Randy Orton with the roles switched from a rivalry, like I said, that spans 2 decades. So we knew that this was definitely a possibility, but to see it get set up the way that it did, John Cena turning around into an RKO, yelling audibly shit at the top of his lungs and getting RKO'd into the ground. John Cena's has been stood tall over by a lot of baby faces, including Cody Rhodes a couple times in their feud, and now Randy Orton stands tall over. Look, John Cena is going to win. Let's just get that out of the way. John Cena is going to beat Randy Orton in St. Louis. I like I said, my one concern is you could probably count on one hand, and they've wrestled each other, 15 or so times, like in the last 20 years. Not a lot of them have been good. They haven't, because their styles are more methodical, slower paced, and mat based. And so with John Cena being a heel, this is gonna it's gonna be interesting to see how the dynamic flips with Randy being the babyface in this feud and being the conquering hero. And it'll be interesting to also see the crowd dynamic, especially with it being in Randy's hometown. We're speculating it's going to be at Backlash. It should be at Backlash because the Backlash was announced in St. Louis. You could see this coming from a mile away when John Cena was announced for Elimination Chamber and then, ultimately won the championship, or ultimately won the Elimination Chamber in the heel turn. We knew where this was going. So, it's like I said, it's a great piece of business from that perspective. It'll sell tickets. The WWE doesn't have a problem selling tickets. I think there's a ton of money to be made into John Cena heel run, and seeing the cool image of Randy Orton just coming up from behind with a massive pop and hitting an RKO on John Cena while he's just lighting up the crowd is just actually just really surreal. It's surreal if you think about the history of these two guys. So I'm freaking excited to see this because I grew up watching these two guys. And seeing this feud develop and their rivalry develop, and in the heyday, like when it got shat on, but they got a chance to go out with this rivalry in John Cena's final year as they play the hits to maybe have one of the great matches that they've ever had. And with the roles flipped, it kind of changes the whole dynamic of this whole feud and the history that they can do and what they can uncover. And let's be real. John Cena doesn't need to be there to do this. Like, he's already talking about, hey, I've got 27 dates left. So, like, Randy Orton could definitely build this feud on his own, and they only have a couple weeks to do it. So, like, it sets itself up. It's fine. And, for anybody who's being like, oh, you know what? Hey, who cares? They had some bad matches. Guys, this is different. This is a different era. This is a new guy in charge, a guy who loves them both in Paul Levesque, Triple H, who knows what he's doing. And here's hoping, the one concern that I have, let's not make it like WrestleMania. Don't if you're going to have run-ins and bullshit happen, don't have it be Travis Scott who helps John Cena do this again. Either have John Cena beat Randy Orton, you have a street fight or something, and then, hey, if Rock wants to show up in St. Louis, whatever. Or, hey, if you want to form a new alliance and, have somebody like some talent come out and help him, or have Seth Rollins and have that group become a thing and John Cena's a part of that and the whole thing is The Rock's doing, fine. But don't have it be Travis Scott. That was a big issue with why people were mad about how that happened. It's like, Cena can cheat to win, whatever. But it can't be like, the mess of what that main event was. So all in all, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And can't wait to see it. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.